My sister and I are twins. I was born healthy, but my sister had a heart condition. Because of that, my parents resented me, saying I took all the nutrients from her. So I had to give in to my sister from the start. I had to shave my hair into a buzz cut because she didn't like my long hair. I passed up on a prestigious university and stayed local because I had to take care of her. Even my boyfriend of 5 years had to be given to her. My mom always says, you have to give in to your sister. Your life is borrowed from hers. On my sister and my former boyfriend Ken's wedding day, I held on to my cancer diagnosis and jumped into the sea. Sister, I'm giving everything back to you. Even my life is returned to you. I didn't show up at Ken and my sister Lucy's engagement party. My mom called as the doctor was talking seriously about my condition, saying, Candy, are you sure you want to give up treatment? At the same time, my mom's angry voice came through the phone, saying, Candy, how dare you not come to your sister's engagement party? Even if she's with Ken, would giving in kill you? I held the phone away to block out the nasty words. Yes, doctor, I've decided to forego treatment. Then I picked up the phone again as harsh words flooded my ears. It's hard to believe that this woman is my mother, despite our blood relation being confirmed. For the first time, I answered her sincerely. Yes, it will kill me. And no, I'm done giving in. When I went home to grab my stuff, the engagement party had just ended, and everyone was there. I tried to be as invisible as possible, hoping to grab my belongings and go unnoticed. But my mom stopped me. Stop right there. Why didn't you come to your sister's engagement party today? I sneered, why should I? To watch my ex-boyfriend become her fiancé? Watch your mouth. My dad slapped me hard. My heart-conditioned sister, Lucy, played the victim saying, Dad, Mom, don't be mad, sister is just upset. But I just want to find true love in my limited life. Seeing Lucy cry, my parents rushed to comfort her, leaving me abandoned again. Even Ken, who I dated for 5 years, looked at me with reproach. Candy, you know your sister is sick. Why do you have to provoke her like this? You're being so cruel. But I was reminded of our first year together. When he heard about my family's bias, he hugged me with pity saying, It's okay. I will love you for the rest of our lives. Guess the one who promised to love me forever now stands against me. As I walked out the door, my mom's shouts echoed, Candy, don't bother coming back if you leave this house. What a loving and united family. I should have realized sooner. But why, as the door closed, did the tears start falling? Candy, get it together. I rented a small apartment, put on a wig, awkwardly applied lipstick, trying to look somewhat alive. Such attire was never allowed at home, because Lucy didn't like it. Lucy and I are twins. I was born healthy, but Lucy was diagnosed with a heart condition. My parents resented me, saying I took all the nutrients meant for her. They made me cater to her every need. Even though I learned later that embryos in the womb have no awareness, and taking nutrients is just natural selection, as a child, I dutifully took on the responsibility of caring for her. When I was 3, and my parents were busy with work, I took on most of the household chores, cooking, folding clothes, and picking my sister up from school at a young age. I didn't go to kindergarten, which made me gloomy, and an easy target for the neighborhood kids. They threw rocks at me and said, Candy, you're so ugly. Why is your sister pretty and you're not? Unlike me, Lucy was pampered, and due to her illness, her pale skin gave her a delicate beauty that everyone adored. I envied her, so I secretly tried to grow my hair long to look better. At 7, I finally got a chance to go to school. I thought it would be the start of my new life. But it was the beginning of another nightmare. On the first day of school, a boy complimented my hair. Lucy went home crying, demanding I shave my head. Why does she get to be healthy and pretty? She yelled. Despite how hard I tried to protect my hair, my parents forced me down and buzzed it off, saying, You have to give in to her. Your life is hers to borrow. Watching my hair fall hurt me, as much as if my heart were wrapped in those dead strands. But I was powerless to fight back. I was the healthy one. Lucky yet unfortunate. I went through elementary and middle school bald. In middle school, I read that not all parents love their children. The book said we can't choose our birth, but we can choose how to live our lives. This line spurred me to work hard. No matter how many nicknames I got, or how often they called me ugly, I stayed unfazed. Eventually, I got top grades and went to a good high school. My sister, whose grades couldn't match mine, was admitted by paying a concealed fee. That's where I met Ken. If I had known he saw my birth as a burden, I wish I'd never met him. Ken was the one person who didn't mind my shaved head. Back then, he always trailed behind me, his eyes sparkling. Candy, how are you so smart? Always getting top marks? Candy, your hairstyle is so cool. Candy, why aren't you talking to me? Coldly, I replied, Ken, if you want someone to play with you, why don't you find my sister Lucy? She's pretty, isn't she? I was upset. In high school, Lucy's health had improved significantly, so that her condition rarely flared up. But the favoritism from my parents never changed, so I still had to give in to her. My room belonged to her, my clothes were hers, my parents were practically hers. Love, too, was considered hers. Beautiful and confident, Lucy is liked by everyone. But then there's me with my bald head and gloomy personality. Nobody likes me, right? But Ken looked puzzled. But I don't like her. I like you. His eyes were soft, and my heart skipped a beat. Later, when Ken learned about my family situation, he promised me, Candy, I'll get you out of that house. He'd gently touch my prickly short hair and hold my calloused hands, roughened by housework. We were so close. Until Ken met Lucy. The day she found out we were dating, Lucy stared at me fiercely. Candy, let me tell you, everything that's yours is mine. She whined and threw a fit to our parents, claiming she fell for Ken and demanded I give him to her. As always, my parents ordered me, just let her have Ken. You owe her that. I was 22 then, marking my 22nd year of giving in. For the first time, I flipped the table. My partner isn't an object to be given away. My parents scolded me and began trying to pair Ken with Lucy behind my back. At first, Ken didn't budge. Then, I don't know when it started, but he began defending Lucy. Candy, Lucy's had it rough. She's been sick since young. It's only natural her parents dote on her a bit more. Just let her be, don't mind her. Eventually, even though we hadn't broken up, Ken openly sided with Lucy, holding her hand against me. Candy, you've got a long life ahead. You'll meet plenty of people. But Lucy's been near death. Her life is uncertain. It's hard for her to fall in love. This time, I want to fulfill her wish. Looking into his familiar eyes, his words felt so foreign. I should have known. Someone loving me was just a cruel joke life played on me. Ken had woven me a grand dream with love. But now it was time to wake up. While packing, I stumbled upon my college entrance exam results. When news spread that I entered a second-tier university, my teacher was frustrated. With your scores, why settle for this college? What a waste. Yeah, what a pity, just like my life. The year I took those exams, my scores were good enough for a top university, but Lucy's were only fit for a local second-tier one. My parents insisted I give up the prestigious school to attend one with Lucy. I objected for the first time, but Lucy doesn't need constant care anymore. They reacted as if I'd said something unbelievable. Their faces red with anger. Candy, if not for you, would Lucy have suffered so much all these years? They warned me, you're attending this college whether you like it or not. You must look after Lucy, make sure nothing happens to her. They hit me and locked me in my room, enrolling me without my consent. Left with my wounds, denied food, it was no surprise I had a fever. By the time I regained clarity, the enrollment process had ended. Leaning against my door, Lucy smirked. Candy, no matter how capable you are, you still ended up attending a second-tier college with me. She pinched my cheek, madness flashing in her eyes. Your life was borrowed from me. It's what you owe. Thinking back, I suddenly coughed up blood, staining my exam certificate. Guess my illness worsened. Lucy, haven't you always thought I owe you? Now I want nothing. Not even my life. I visited the prestigious university I once longed to join. It was spring, cherry blossoms in full bloom. The season was vibrant, and I snapped a few photos for my social media. Right after, my family bombarded me with messages. Mom, Candy, you're out enjoying yourself? Come back for your sister's wedding. Dad, ungrateful child. Look how filial Lucy is. Why weren't you the sick one? Lucy even posted on social media, in a white wedding dress holding Ken's hand, our parents smiling behind them. Her caption, May every year be happy with you for life. I let out a cold laugh, commented. Still bold enough to flaunt being the other woman? Naturally, my parents' messages got even nastier. Who'd want you with a venomous tongue like that? Even Ken messaged Candy. How come I didn't realize you had such an awful personality? Even though I tried convincing myself to let go, the pain crept back in. But it's okay. My life is nearing its end. On Ken and Lucy's wedding day, I dressed up and went to the beach. The clothes weren't of great quality. A tug would unravel the threads, looking cheap. Yet it was the best I could afford. I'd handed over my savings to my family, funding Lucy's lavish lifestyle. I'd rebelled, but my parents threatened to ruin my job if I didn't comply. When I landed a government job, I was under scrutiny. My life had been ruined once. I couldn't let it be destroyed again. So, I agreed to their demands, ending up now without nice clothes even in death. Inside, I silently apologized to myself. Sorry I couldn't give you the life you wanted even till death. Maybe life was bitter by nature. When I found out I had cancer, oddly, I felt relieved. This messed up life was finally ending. The water reached my knees when my phone rang again. I didn't hesitate, tossed it into the sea. I could guess what they wanted to say. Get back, and let your sister have what she wants. The accusations of what I owed Lucy, I'd heard enough. Avoiding keeping them from tainting my path to the afterlife. Maybe in some twin telepathy, as water filled my lungs, I saw Lucy. She was in her wedding dress, smiling sweetly at Ken, and he looked back at her with adoration. Down below, their parents were bursting with emotion, clapping and crying out of joy. That's something I'll never have, no matter how long I live. I've heard if you make a wish when you die, it has a good chance of coming true in the next life. But when I was on my deathbed, I didn't feel like wishing for anything. This life was just too hard. In the next life, I don't want to come back at all. After I died, a man in black floated in front of me looking serious. Why did you end your life before your time was up? I stood there on the beach, letting the waves wash through me. Didn't want to live, so I died. The man seemed irritated. You shouldn't have died yet. You gotta finish your time on Earth before you can go to the underworld. He said he'd stick around for the next 30 days, and then take me to the underworld when the time came. Turns out, even if I had lived right, I had just 30 days left. Better to be a wandering soul than a tool to be constantly yelled at. At least I'm free. As I drifted with the breeze, the man followed, scowling. We ended up back at my house. Red wedding decorations were everywhere. People were mingling and drinking. Nobody cared I was missing. Lucy complained, why didn't Candy show up? Realizing she might have sounded harsh, she softly added, I'm just worried about her. My dad, he slammed the table, don't mention bad luck stuff on a happy day. Mom chimed in. Who skips their sibling's wedding? She was a waste to raise. Ken wrapped his arm around Lucy. Don't be mad, Lucy. You know how your sister is. Don't let it ruin you. Black-clad man was still mad. But seeing all this, he understood why I'd chosen death. He turned to comfort me, but saw my tears had already fallen. I wiped them away, forcing a smile. It's my lover and my sister's wedding. Those two who just curse me are my parents. He wanted to say something, but kept silent in the end. Yeah, nothing to say. A child who's unloved shouldn't be born at all. So, I just had to die. We sat on the rooftop's edge, staring out at the city's lights. My house shone the brightest. He asked, why didn't you tell your family you had cancer? I stayed quiet, zoning out at the little window of my house. Through it, I saw Lucy choking on food, and everyone freaking out, thinking something happened to her. I remembered when my cancer first got diagnosed, one meal I coughed up blood. Red blood staining white rice. My parents looked worried, but Lucy shrieked, clutching her chest. Oh God, I can't stand blood. Their attention flipped to Lucy, comforting her. Then they glared at me. Candy, don't scare your sister. If you caught something, go die outside, puke outside, don't scare her. I wanted to tell them about my illness that day. I wanted to say, look, I'm sick like Lucy too. Let's just get through what's left peacefully. But after that, I didn't want to say a thing. Because even if I did, no one cared. In my worst agony, doubled over in bed, I'd stained the sheets with sickness. Next day, my parents saw it and scolded me, yanking me from my bed to wash them. Useless from birth. Now ruining the house too. Wonder why they even bothered with me. Cold water swallowed my hands, and I thought of rebelling again. I was dying anyway. Dead people aren't scared of the living. So I tossed aside the sheets and packed my few belongings. Clothes, backpack, even my worn-out underwear, all Lucy's leftovers. I had nothing of my own. Like this house. I never belonged there from the start. Talking about it now, I just choked up a bit, no more tears. It's progress, I guess, even if it happened after I died. I joked. He sat silent forever, until I almost drifted to sleep. Then he replied, "Yeah, it is. You always did your best." He asked if there was anything I regretted not doing. I thought and took him to an amusement park. Going to such places was always a privilege for Lucy, not me. One year I wanted to go, but my parents ordered me to stay home. They yelled, "If you hadn't leached off her nutrients, we wouldn't have spent so much on her treatments. Now you want to waste our money playing? You can't go." Later, when I met Ken, he promised to make up for my lost childhood dreams. But when he could afford it, he'd already met Lucy. So with her clinging, the trip kept getting postponed. He'd say, "Lucy needs me. She's your sister after all. Maybe next time." But I died before that next time ever came. I rode the carousel with him, tried the roller coaster, finally sat on a Ferris wheel. Reaching the top, I pointed below, yelling excitedly at the tiny people. "Look, they're so small now." It hit me then, happiness is so simple. Yet it's so hard to be happy while alive. Coming down, we bumped into Ken and Lucy. Wanted to dodge, keep them from tainting my brief joy. But my spirit followed them, into the Ferris wheel cabin. At the top, Lucy kissed Ken. Flushing red. Always loved this place. Heard if you kiss at the top, you'll stay together forever. But Ken looked uneasy. When Lucy gushed over the view, he muttered, "Candy liked the park too. Ken, you finally remembered me? Did you ever remember the promise you made? And have you ever thought about that endless next time?" Ken seemed to pick up on my question, and he suddenly looked up, staring blankly in my direction. From the other side of life, I looked into his confused and slightly guilty eyes, and realized I didn't want to know the answer. It just didn't matter anymore. None of it did. It was then I realized I could leave the Ferris wheel, or more accurately Lucy's side. The man in black spoke softly. "You're supposed to stay near someone who holds on to you. But since you don't have much time left, you might as well enjoy some freedom." The 20 days after my death were the happiest of my life. The man in black and I traveled all over the country. We visited H province to see snow that hadn't melted yet, and went to X city to see endless grasslands. I'd never been so far from home, nor had I ever felt my soul so free, until I saw the news that my body had been found. I was drawn back home almost involuntarily. The man in black explained a bit sheepishly. When someone dies before their time, the body holds some energy. When it's found and the energy's released, it attracts the soul. I ended back by the sea where I had taken my own life. My body was already swollen by water. The police found my cancer report hidden in my clothes, and used it to contact my parents. "We found your daughter's body by the sea. Please come to identify it," the officer said. There was a brief silence before a voice erupted in anger. "Candy? You're finally reaching out? What kind of stunt is this now? Who did you get to play along this time? What body? Trying to upset your sister again? I'm warning you, get back here now." The call was abruptly cut off, and the police were left baffled by such a father. With no other choice, they went to my parents' home. As the police car headed to the funeral home, my dad kept ranting. "Where did Candy find these actors? They're pretty convincing." My mom chimed in agreeing. "Yeah, our Lucy is really sick. Does she think pretending will get her the same attention as Lucy?" Lucy innocently added, "Did something actually happen to my sister? I'm scared." My parents quickly reassured her, but the police were speechless. "You'll see soon enough. No guesses needed." Seeing the seriousness on the officers' faces, everyone fell silent and followed them. When my mom saw my body, she was the first to react. Trembling, she touched me, mumbling, "She's gone, really gone." Dad reflexively nudged me. "Stop pretending, you fool." But the feeling of my skin told him I was really dead. "We found this cancer report on her," the officer said. "Seems she lost hope." "You as parents should have noticed something was wrong," the officer said. Hearing the word cancer, my parents' faces changed. They glanced at each other, probably recalling the time I coughed up blood. Was it from when Candy coughed up blood? Mom's voice trembled. Dad took out a cigarette, but his hands shook too much to light it. Frustrated, he tossed it and crushed it underfoot, shouting, "Enough!" No one noticed Lucy, pale and scared, behind them. She clutched her heart theatrically. "Mom, Dad, her body is scaring me. I can't breathe here." Lucy had received early treatment, and her condition had long been stable. Her heart didn't have serious issues, but she always used her health as an excuse when she didn't get her way. This time, though, my parents didn't rush to comfort her. Mom turned to her with tears in her eyes. "Lucy, she's your sister. How can you say that?" Dad finally lit his cigarette, and through the smoke, saw Lucy blushing despite holding her chest. "Lucy, I recall your condition is no longer worrisome. We weren't there for your sister when she was alive. Today, we want to be with her for a while." Lucy froze, unsure how to respond. From above, I could only laugh. They had known all along. They knew Lucy didn't need constant care. They'd known their treatment of me wasn't fair. Yet they'd chosen it. Since I died, the mood at home had been somber. I had left behind little but worn clothes and used items. My mom didn't go to work. She spent her days repairing my old clothes. No matter how she tried, they ended up looking odd. The patches were like scars over the holes. She'd fix them and pull them apart in frustration until finally, she dropped the needle and cried, "I'm sorry. I could never give you decent clothes." After crying, she'd start again, unstable on her feet as she worked. I whispered silently, "No need to fix them. Once ruined, things never truly repair." Relationships were no different. My dad had become vacant, his once fierce temper subdued, wandering aimlessly. Once, he met a high school friend, who's now a teacher at my old school. The friend proudly spoke of his daughter, heading to a top university. Dad suddenly said, "My daughter could have done that too." Noticing his friend's puzzled look, he softly clarified, "My other daughter. She was amazing in high school. You have another kid? You never mentioned her." My dad was at a loss for words. After all, with my weird looks and dull personality, I was always the one he couldn't show off. Oh, speaking of which, our school once had a bright shaved head girl. She could have gotten into a prestigious college based on her grades, but ended up at a second-tier one due to family issues. Such a pity. Her picture is still on the school's outer wall. My dad just smoked silently, showing no reaction. It wasn't until after my classmate left that he seemed to snap out of it and ran to my high school. The wall was covered in moss, my photo trapped in a rusty display case, much like my own life. The shaved head girl in the photo smiled with a forced shyness, locked inside a small frame. My dad touched the photo through the glass, and the outstanding student label only pierced him more. He stared at that picture for a long time and finally uttered 3 words. "I'm sorry, but what's the point of a late apology? I don't need it anymore." Ken heard about my death too. On the day of my burial, Ken touched my spiky short hair and calloused hands, just like when we were in love. He looked so sad. "Candy, why do you have to be so silly?" But I won't respond to him anymore. Mom silently wiped her tears, mumbling something. Dad just smoked one cigarette after another. The weather was damp today, muddy, with the cemetery's earth giving off a stinking odor. Lucy pinched her nose, displeased, urging everyone to hurry. "This place reeks. Can we just finish this already and leave, Dad, Mom, Ken?" But no one listened to her. Everyone just stood dazed by my body, wanting to say a final goodbye. Seeing no one paid attention, Lucy softened her stance. "I'm just uncomfortable here, the air's bad, and I'm worried it'll affect my health." Hearing this, the 3 of them suddenly turned to look at her coldly. Ken spoke first. "Lucy, I just went to the doctor with you the other day, and they said your condition isn't as bad as you make it seem. You're not gonna faint at the drop of a hat anymore. Or do you just find your sister's body disgusting, and it upsets you?" Ken rarely spoke harshly. It reminded me of the boy who used to defend me. Back then, whenever people mocked my style and personality, Ken would boldly stand up for me. Who gives you the right to talk about Candy like that? But in the end, even someone like him inevitably leaned towards Lucy. Mom spoke too. "If you really can't take it, go ahead and leave. Your health matters to us, but I can't endlessly cater to this reason anymore. It costs me Candy." Lucy stood a few meters away, close but feeling so distant from the three of them emotionally. The three of them knelt on the ground, confessing their past sins against me. They shouldn't have forced me to do chores, shaved my head, let me attend a lower-ranked university, let Lucy steal my lover, or ignored my illness. They were fervent, their tears genuine, but I felt nothing. At one point, I had longed for their apologies. Yet when it truly happened, it felt pointless. People spend a lifetime chasing something, but once obtained, torn apart, it often seems nothing more than an obsession. With that thought, I felt lighter, floating a few meters higher. 3 days left. A deep voice echoed, "It's time for you to go." I decided to spend those 3 remaining days in my room. It's like coming full circle. The house's vibe was still gloomy, something I had long gotten used to. But one person couldn't adapt. Lucy. She couldn't understand Mom's attachment to those old clothes, or why Dad kept going to high school to look at my photo. At the dining table, Mom and Dad shared their thoughts again. Mom said, "I repaired that bear pattern shirt again today. I remember Candy loved it as a kid." Dad said, "Candy didn't leave behind many photos. Maybe I should talk to my old classmate to see if they can give me that school photo of her." Lucy finally snapped, flipping the table over. "Can you wake up already? Candy is gone. She's dead." Lucy shouted. She picked up the bear shirt. She had just mended today, ready to cut it. "Face it, she's dead. Even if you mend this shirt 100 times, she won't wear it again." The next second, Lucy got slapped by Mom. Mom snatched the shirt back, trembling with anger. "Lucy, this was your sister's. Are you going to destroy it too?" Lucy fell to the ground, instinctively clutching her chest. But Mom didn't comfort her, only coldly said, "I asked the doctor. Your heart isn't that fragile. When Candy was alive, we knew this, and because of your little antics, we favored you. Now Candy is gone. Can't you let us be with her a little longer?" Dad also red-eyed accused her. "Lucy, you've turned out even more vicious than I imagined. I watched this farce from above and found it laughable. My parents are truly cunning, taking no responsibility with just a few words. But if it wasn't for their boundless indulgence, how would Lucy become so spoiled?" Lucy ran out the door crying, "I'm going to Ken, and I'm never coming back." Sadly, Ken couldn't meet her expectations this time. Ken's house was a mess, filled with all sorts of things that reminded him of me. The love letters we exchanged, the gift I bought him with my first paycheck. There was a divorce agreement sitting on the table. Ken looked exhausted and said to Lucy, "Just sign it. I never loved you. I love Candy. I only married you out of pity." Lucy held the agreement in disbelief. But you know about my illness. I can't live without you." Ken, indifferent, replied, "Stop pretending. There's no audience here, and no one's here to protect you. You don't really love me either, do you? Candy told me you just like taking what belongs to her." "No, that's not true," Lucy quickly argued. "At first, maybe, but now I truly love you." Facing Lucy's heartfelt confession, Ken remained unmoved. "So what?" He lovingly caressed our photo. "I've only ever loved Candy my whole life." After saying this, he shut Lucy out, ignoring her desperate cries and door pounding. Ken gently touched my image in the photo, murmuring, "Candy, you're so kind. You probably feel sorry for Lucy, don't you? But I don't. She owes you." Tears fell onto the photo, blurring my face. He softly wiped away the tears. "Candy, wait for me. In the next life, we'll be together again." A man in black spoke. "He's quite passionate." I countered, "But all I feel is disgust." Once Ken fell asleep, I traced his features, trying to memorize every detail. Just in case, for when I see him in the next life, and can run away immediately. Hopefully, if it's possible. Ken, in the next life, let's not meet again. The day I left, I took one last look at home. Mom and Dad seemed uneasy, as if they sensed something. Nobody knew where Lucy went. Word was, after facing rejection from both sides, she secretly went home, took all the savings and ran. When this came to light, Mom sighed. Candy was the good one, always giving us her earnings. If only we had treated Candy better. She must have been so desperate when she died, Mom lamented again. If only, if only. There's no if only in this world. Standing in front of them, I softly said, "Mom, Dad, I'm leaving." They seemed to hear me. Suddenly looking up, "Candy, is that you? Are you there?" Mom started crying again. What do you mean you're leaving? Are you abandoning us? Even my strong-willed dad got teary. Candy, I was wrong. Please don't leave us. I shook my head gently no. Sensing my resolve, they bowed their heads, appearing to age by a decade in an instant. After a while, Mom cautiously asked, we know we messed up. Can you forgive us? I replied firmly, no forgiveness. With the man in black leading the way, I ignored their cries as I walked on. No forgiveness, not this life, not the next. Never ever, for eternity. The man in black sighed, brushing over my head, and a watery mirror appeared before me. This is the pool of forgetfulness. Jump in, and by the time you reach the underworld, you'll have forgotten all earthly memories. Of course, you can choose not to forget, and keep your memories. Before he could finish, I jumped into the mirror. Warm water surrounded me, bringing a fleeting sensation of being back in my mom's womb. I watched from a third-person perspective as Mom, newly pregnant with twins, was ecstatic. I've even got the names picked out. Turns out, I was once eagerly anticipated. But that all changed after I was born. Time flew, reaching the year Ken and I fell in love. He held me, promising to take me away from that home. But in the end, he became part of it. Truly, life is unpredictable, and people change easily. Before I lost all my memories, I silently made a wish. If there's a next life, may it be less painful. The end.